I don't know. I don't know if you get a. I don't know.
Figure it out. Hey, I got a thing.
Part of me doesn't even care. I just want to do. Like, that's been my problem. There's been too much, like, try to have it all perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to, when we can mention this a couple times during the stream, but that conference, there was already a tweet that was put out. So I'm going to retweet this and say that people have to comment on this tweet if they want to enter into the giveaway for the ticket.
They need to add, we need to add a hashtag, just have it, call it the hallway track.
All right.
Let me make sure.
Hallway track.
They have to be on the stream though.
Yeah, we're going to pick them. So I have this tool that I use. It tracks who comments on a tweet, and then I just click a button and it picks somebody randomly who's commented on it. And then we could just double check to make sure they're present. Although honestly, I don't know how to do that with this live thing. Yeah, we're going to figure it all out.
What's up, Graham? I don't even know how to know how many people are even on this thing.
What's up, Graham?
Oh,
you should have a number in the top left, but I don't think it divides it.
Yeah. Oh, it does.
I don't think it shows you between the different platforms. I think it just gives you one.
No.
One big one. Nope.
I got them between all of them.
There's they do have separate numbers?
If you hover over it, it gives you two.
Oh, okay.
Look at that. There's people. There's people to join this shit show.
I feel like it's going to be that. It's okay. That's what makes them the best, right?
As everybody can see, we're trying to make the things happen as I'm getting support calls. We had a production system go down this morning. Kids are graduating. It's the last day of school. The best part about the production system was their credit card expired. It was our fault. All right.
Might have Graham come onto a stream sometime soon and do a accessibility audit on Deals for Devs.
Oh, that's better.
That's cool.
I was going to say, because if it's on that conference.
Oh, not that
one. That one's not good.
That is one of those areas that is unfortunately on my backlog to get around to learning. I don't know much about accessibility, unfortunately.
I just have a hard time getting life to move forward. I mean, just busy. All right, so this is going. We're running. It's live. So here's the ground rules. 1, there are no ground rules. 2, thank you for being on whatever this is and going to become. 3, if you're watching this and you're online and you want to be in the giveaways, well, 1, you got to be on the line. 2, you have to use the hashtag, the hallway track. To steal Taylor's little inspiration, he's always says, use this as an opportunity to network. And I think that's great. So if you're not chatting in the comments or giving us a hard time, then there's a problem. So do that. Are we trying to make you cry? I don't know, we could. I don't really want to.
Ryan.
All right. So I have a question for you two. And I'm going to kick it off like this. We're all fathers in very different journeys. So I've got one that's last day of high school is today.
Crazy.
18, 16, off to college, whatnot. Brian, I think your minions are like 8, 12, 10. You're kind of in that range.
Pretty close. 10, 8, and or almost 10, actually. 10 in 2 weeks. 10 in a month. Just looking at the date.
I got boy, girl. What's your gaggle of kids?
3 boys. 10, 8, and 4. Didn't get to the 4th one. Or didn't get to the one that is 4. No 4th one. We're done at 3.
I was say, you've had too many if you can't remember.
Yeah. No more surprises.
And James, you've got one who is one or about to be one.
About to be. Now I know why you cut me off earlier when I was talking about this before we were live. Birthday party Saturday if anybody wants to come to Memphis.
Tempting.
I'm sure it is.
I've got some soccer games and a graduation and too many other things.
So we'll see you there.
So I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there early
Cool.
to help set up.
Brian
So-
manifesting a whole baseball team.
I want to ask you, I saw you, James, put something in your Discord a couple weeks ago that you had to stop. You needed to pull back. And I couldn't help but feel validated because the great James Quick was like, there's too much shit going on. I need to do less because other things are more important. So how is being a father after you have now just completed your first year of residency? How does it feel?
Mostly good. I never have enough time, which is probably the obvious. I think the biggest thing for us is we don't have like full-time daycare. So we have our nanny who's here now, and she usually does, I think today she's doing 8 hours, but usually it's like 6 hours. And then she has daycare 2 days a week, which tomorrow is her last day. And that's usually only 6 hours. So I haven't worked an 8-hour day since she's been born, basically. And don't tell Octa, but that's a struggle for Jess as well. So we'll alternate, like in the morning, sometimes I'll watch Jamie and Jess can work. In the afternoon, sometimes she'll watch Jamie so I can work. But that's hard. There's never enough time. I think the bigger thing for me, it was probably more relevant than I realized even before having Jamie, but now it's like worsened or exacerbated because of having less time. But I want to do so many things like this, for example, and I never really paid attention to the amount of like stress, even if it's small, that comes along with each individual thing. And it's hard to turn down stuff. It's hard to turn down speaking opportunities. It's hard to turn down streaming opportunities. It's hard to turn down Twitter spaces. It's hard to turn down hanging out with people. It's hard to turn down like everything that I could do, which is a lot of things. And my inbox is always filled with more opportunities to do more. It's really hard not to do them. But then I realized I was doing way too many things that like doing the small things to support them were stressful. Like I was always moving from one thing to another. So I never felt really good about focus and prioritization and sticking with things because I was jumping around too much. So this is something I'm continuing to work on and try to narrow my scope. And I want to work minimally this summer. And we'll see how that goes. We have a trip scheduled to Europe, by the way, combined with 2 working things, taking Jamie. So yeah, I don't know.
And not to poo-poo on you, but like your kid's won. Like it gets way worse.
Yeah.
Brian, how do you deal with? I mean, we're in 3 very distinct elements of family life. Brian, where are you at on the spectrum of balance? Because you've been pushing shit out left and right.
Yeah. I was saying before we went live that one of the reasons I've been so, I guess, excited to work on and push things out is, new job is really exciting and they empower me to do so. Right. Like they're really just cool about, hey, just go build some cool stuff and go share it and just, spread the good word. And I was a fan of Clerk before I even joined the company. So even if I wasn't working for them, I'd still be doing Clerk stuff. Don't tell them that because I also need to, make money and put food on my kids' tables. But yeah, I mean, I'm also blessed to be in a position where I am the sole earner of the family. So my wife is more or less a stay-at-home mom and she wrangles the kids. All 3 of my kids are in school. My youngest is in half-day kindergarten or half-day preschool, actually. So I get a couple of hours in the morning of basically silence in the house where nothing's going on, where I can kind of concentrate the most. And then he comes home and it kind of is all downhill from there, right? Like right around that, actually pretty soon, we might be hearing some banging on the door because I have it locked right now because I work from my bedroom. Yeah, he'll come in and tell me like, hey, here's what he did at school today, and he'll ask me for stuff. And I try not to like push my kids away when they ask me for things, especially even if I am in the middle of things, unless it's like a meeting or unless it's like, okay, I really need to like focus on what I'm doing. But I still always give my kids the time of day. And then my oldest ones, they come home from school about 3. And then after that, it's like best effort until 5. And then a lot of times I'll even pick things up later on at night. And I know that's kind of generally frowned upon because, you need that work-life balance. But, I work a remote job and we have flexible work hours, so I can shift and move things around. And making sure my kids are happy is always going to be the most important thing for me. So if I have to move some of my work into the evening once they're in bed, then that's just what I got to do.
I did that game for a long time. Still do that game at different times.
Yeah, my oldest is kind of getting to this point where he likes his alone time. Like I don't want to say finally getting to that age, but I'm starting to see that like he's starting to distance himself just a little bit, not enough. Like he still wants to hang out with us and stuff. So he's not like teenagers where they don't want anything to do with us, but I'm starting to see more of that. He just naturally gravitates towards going into his room or going outside and doing things kind of solo or on his own, or wants to hang out with his friends more.
Yeah. Puberty is a funny thing. Like there's this point where, the kids need you. And then all of a sudden they're like, skirt, like, I don't want anything to do with you. And they get super awkward and weird and they're running into shit and they're squeaky. And then it's like a light switch flips and then they kind of come back and you're like, oh, you're normal again. And that was kind of like the 12 to 15, 12 to 16. My son, my daughter's completely different through that journey for sure. But yeah, I mean, when they want that independence, it can be a little hard as a parent, a little weird when you're just kind of sitting there like, what do we do now?
Yeah. I try and keep at the forefront of my mind though. Like part of my job as a parent is to be there for my kids when they need me, but also like to train them to be good human beings. Like, so this way when they get older, they do know how to take care of themselves and whatnot. Because I know, like, I guess a little bit of behind the scenes of my childhood, like I didn't really have to do anything as a kid. My mother always made food for us. She always washed our clothes and stuff. So when I like finally got on my own, it's like, shit, I need to figure out how washing clothes works and how to cook things and whatnot, and like, I'm okay with like, I don't mind drifting into new territory and whatnot, but like, I want them to know how to do all that stuff before it gets to a point where they're on their own. So this way they can kind of just pick it up naturally.
Yeah. I mean, they're our babies. We always want to protect them.
Yeah.
We've got a rule in our house where when we built this house, we have a dedicated office. And if the door is closed, they're not allowed to enter. If the door is open, they're allowed to enter. That's kind of the rule. And both my wife and I work in this office. So the door is rarely closed, but they've only known us. Yeah. Well, yeah. The house better be on fire. But it's a good visual for them to realize that, there's things going on and we don't need them kind of just barging in and letting us know whatever happened, which usually isn't that big of a deal, but important to them for sure. What do you wish you would have? What do you wish you knew, James?
Long, awkward pause as I really think about the question.
How about you,
I don't
Brian?
know. Like, well, I'll say really quickly, like in some ways it's been easier than I thought it would be. And also some ways it's been harder. I think it's been harder just time wise. Again, not having like full-time daycare of some sort. I'm not really a baby person. Like I've never really had an interest in babies. Obviously it's a little different when it's yours. So I've enjoyed that type of stuff more than I thought I would. I don't know what I wish I knew. I don't know, but some has been easier, some's been harder.
And I give you props. Like you guys travel a lot with Jamie, and
Yeah.
I think that was a thing that Carrie and I didn't do well at all. We almost got a little too grounded. We didn't have a lot of support around, so there weren't a lot of babysitters, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
we definitely did not get out as much as we should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been really important for us, is to continue to do as much as we can all the things that we enjoy doing. Because I'm really sensitive of like, I don't want to lose myself in having a kid.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose us. And there's a country song, I forget what it is, and it talks about like after the kids move away, the couple like having to re-find each other, or like re-meet and know each other, because they haven't been each other. They've just been parents for 18 years or whatever. And that's something I think about a lot, is trying to maintain our relationship and the things that we do, continue to play soccer, continue to play golf, continue to travel. And we've done all of that for the most part. I will say the one thing, I thought things were easier early. It's not Friends in Low Places. It's another, like, it's a more recent song, Jason. If I can
Friends
find
in
it, I
High
will.
Places.
Friends in High Places, the updated version.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's been super important to us. So we've tried to make that work as best as we can, and pray for us as we have a 8-hour flight to Paris coming up this summer.
I mean, I resemble that comment in the aspect that we have one that's going to college here in a couple months. That next chapter is happening.
Yeah.
Whether you prepare for it or not, like we will have one that's out of the house, right? We're obviously, well, you two know, we're very involved in travel ball and club soccer and all that. But you know, if you break life up into chapters, this next chapter is one with one less kid. Which,
and then in 2 years,
right, then
you're not far away from a drastically different experience.
Right.
That's kind of terrifying for me, not even being in the situation.
Yeah. And what we knew of each other 18 years ago was a much different Carrie and Clark than what we are today.
Yeah.
You know, right? A lot has happened in between. And so I don't know, you know, a lot of our travel will be going back and forth to colleges and other things to visit. And I mean, just even saying that, I just feel like an old hag.
Mhm.
Like, I'm going to go visit my kids in school. But we do sit here and we think, shit, like what is life with adult children, essentially? And I don't know. I don't know.
Somebody said, "Show them to me." I'm gonna find the
And
song and I'll give it back. Sorry, Brian.
The inaugural hallway track started off real deep.
Yeah.
I mean, look, all of you guys, everybody's talking about tech shit. Like, let's just get into the stuff that we talk about on the phone.
No,
and I have the privilege of knowing both of you pretty well, and we have side conversations. And I've been wanting to have this because I saw James pull back the other day, and I was like, yes, he's freaking normal. Like, I can't get all this shit done, and I work too much. And my daughter's signing up for a new soccer club. Then the commitment is bonkers, and I'm like, I don't even know how we're going to do that. And we'll have one less in the house.
She does have her license now?
She does.
Or not yet?
Yep.
Okay.
She just got it 2 months ago, which is
because she didn't have
fucking
it.
Scary.
She didn't have it last summer or in Austin when she like wanted to move the car or something on her own.
Oh, right. She was gonna go to Dunkin' Donuts or some shit.
Yeah.
No. Right. No.
So at the very least, although it's nerve-wracking, she can drive herself to practice, right?
She can, but we live in a place. I mean, we're out in the sticks, so like the club is 45 minutes through, what will inevitably be rush hour traffic, and at night and winter. Which we have a rule in this house: you have to take the dad driving winter test. I don't care what the state says. Neither have passed yet because we haven't gotten any snow to enact that driving test. So. yeah, I like that's her her very close friend just got in a really bad car wreck 2 weeks
Oh.
ago, and
You have a
that
friend that was there with
yes,
her. Really?
yes, she was not the driver. A car pulled out, they T-boned them 60 some odd miles an hour, cars rolled, life for life, like everything you just don't want as a parent. And that's really
Jeez.
that's really like put life back into perspective of like you got a driver, and not that we take it for granted, but you're just like, listen, child, 6,000 pound vehicle, you need to understand, like, this shit is real. You need to have respect for the wheels that are underneath you. So, but soccer club, right? And you're like, oh, okay, how many Nimrods are on their cell phones driving in rush hour traffic, not paying attention, and here's my kid who's kind of doing the best that they can. So
There's a lot more scary things to think about as they do more, which I will experience eventually.
yeah.
Brian,
Brian?
And I know, like,
at
I
some
was just
point you were
gonna
going to say
say,
something. Yeah.
yeah, driving, even from when James, you and I were probably getting our licenses and practicing driving, like, cell phones were not as big of a thing back then.
Yeah.
We didn't have these slates of glass that you can use to watch videos. Like, I've seen, I had a buddy, and I don't talk to him anymore, but he used to, when he would drive, he would hold his cell phone through the top spokes of the steering wheel and have a YouTube video on while he was driving. And I'm like, dude, you're insane. Why would you do that? Like, that's so dumb. It's like, I'm just,
So,
who knows?
what
Maybe these
happened?
maybe these driverless cars will take off, and then I won't have to worry about my kids ever having to drive. But I somehow,
I did one of those.
based on the track record of the powers that be that are building those, I don't have high hopes for it.
Well, I'll say this: we were faced with this decision. We needed a third car, and we were faced with the decision. Like, when I grew up, you got a beater, you bought your own car, whatever, it didn't matter. Now you're like, okay, these cars literally can stop themselves, right? They can keep you from moving into another lane. They can keep you from backing into somebody. You sit there and you go, is a Kia that has this stuff in it for whatever, 20, 30 grand, like, is that worth my kid's life? Right? Like, would we be better off having the thing that has that level of oh shit in it that goes, no, you can't switch lanes at 65 miles an hour because there's another car here. So we ended up getting.
I hadn't thought about all the things that come with newer cars.
Yeah,
and investing in that.
Yeah, my truck doesn't have any of that. My truck would just be like, yeah, head right into them. Dear, see you.
But, yeah, I was pretty open about this, but I'm not a fan of flying. Being thousands of feet in the air freaks me out. So on the way home from that conference, I kind of,
it's not funny, but I will laugh.
No, well, it's funny to tell the story. It was not funny in the moment.
It's funny now.
I'm sure. And you flew the wrong way. Like, didn't you? Sorry, I'm jumping the story for you.
No, they changed it on me. So I was supposed to originally have a layover. So my trip there, I had a layover I went from Louisville to Dallas and then over to Austin. And then I was supposed to take the same route back. And then they rerouted me through Colorado and also changed the plane model. So I was really making sure, like, as I was booking my trip, not to get on a Max line of plane.
Oh, okay.
Because I know they've traditionally had problems. So I was like, I'll pick one that I know is a little more reliable, right?
Yeah.
Only the exit row. Stop hating on all the other seats.
Well, I mean, anyway, let's not talk about that. Okay, I don't want to get that far. But guys, I got in the plane. I was like, oh wow, this plane looks really nice. This is way nicer than the last couple planes I did. And I sat down, and they were like doing all the checks and getting ready for takeoff. And I looked forward, and I see that pamphlet. It said 777 Max 8, and I was like,
yeah.
I was like, okay, it's fine. It's probably just anxiety. And I was like, I got to get off this plane. And I told him, I'm like, I'm sick. I got to go. Right. Like, I just got off. But where I'm getting to is I I'm in there and I'm like, I have no idea. Like I had to sit there in the airport for like 30 minutes just to like calm myself down to like get a train of thought going where I can actually do something with it. And I ended up renting a car and driving back, but I had one of those. I had a Toyota Camry, I think it was, that had like a lot of these driver assistant features. And man, were those cool? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not one to watch. I don't pick my cell phone up hardly at all unless I'm like changing music or putting a podcast on or something in the background to listen to, right? But like even just driving in the car, if I like got a little too close to one of the lanes, the steering wheel would buzz at me and it would kind of redirect me. Or like as I was in cruise control, it would already know the car that was ahead of me and start slowing me down before I was like getting too close to it. I was like, this is really cool. I kind of want one of these cars. But yeah, that's a good point that you mentioned, Clark. Like I had always kind of had in this mind, like in the back of my mind, when my kids turned 14, I wanted to buy them a beater so that it could be like a project car for us, right? Like we got 2 years to fix it up before you can actually like have it and take it on the road and all that stuff. But man, that's got me thinking now. I'm not so sure I want that. I don't know.
I mean, that's just kind of where, like, I'm not saying what we did was right. That was just a bit of my own, like, it was a stretch for us to do it. And then I just go, I don't know. Like the shit on the roads these days are nuts enough.
Yeah.
Where do I fall into that? So,
Favorite hallway. That hallway track.
yeah. So
What's
for
up,
those
LA?
that are listening across all of the things, if you want to give us a shout out and use the hallway track or hashtag the hallway track, that'll enter you into this wonderful giveaway of me giving away stuff. So, but you got to be there because that's what the little StreamYard tool does. And if you're not in there, then
It
I
has
would-
StreamYard has a giveaway feature.
yeah, StreamYard.com
Oh,
giveaway.
what? Oh, okay. That's cool.
Come on, and you guys are the pros. Come on.
Well, this will
Yeah.
be Jess will want to know this. I think they're probably going to use StreamYard for one of their upcoming events. She might already know it, actually.
She's pretty smart,
just-
much smarter than you.
Yeah, I just subbed to StreamYard yesterday, so I'm very new to this platform. I was happy to see you giving it the good old trial and error before I get to use it tomorrow.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
I didn't give it much, so we're
Yeah.
doing this as we speak.
It'll be a double YOLO day. It's all good.
What
We'll
do
figure it
you?
out.
What are you talking? Are you doing a video podcast tomorrow?
Yeah, so I do want to get back to Ross's comment on the mental health thing because
Yeah.
that's something I also would love to hear your input on. But yeah, last year I came up with this idea. So I run a small Discord, as I know you know, James. Fullstack.chat it's just a small little community. Originally, we used to be a lot bigger, but it's kind of just tapered off over the years. But it's kind of a collection of a couple friends. We all chat on a regular basis. But I got this killer branding that I designed with it over the years, and I'm like, I want to really do something with this. So my thought process was to like create a podcast that accompanies the Discord that is all focused on helping developers build products, building SaaS products, building mobile apps, et cetera, because I'm a builder too. I like building stuff. Like that's one of the things that really kind of got me into this industry. And I know what that feeling is to finally like launch something and get people to start using it. So I was like, how can I use this as a means to empower people to do that? So Clark is going to be my inaugural
I
guest
bullied you
on
enough.
the first episode of the current iteration. I technically have 3 episodes already, but they were just Twitter Spaces and done last year. So yeah, we're going to be hanging out tomorrow at 11 Eastern, 10 Central. I think is that how that time zone thing works?
Yep. Yeah, if you
Still
would
figuring
move,
it out.
Time zone
if
math
you would
is hard.
just move to the great state of Illinois, then you wouldn't have to worry about this Central Eastern time.
I'm trying. Trust me, I'm trying.
It's not like you
Yeah,
haven't
so-
lived in each time zone too, right? Were you in Eastern in Kentucky?
I am in Eastern in Kentucky. I'm still in Kentucky.
Are you still
I
in
never
Kentucky?
moved. Yeah, I never moved.
But you are moving?
I
Or
am.
you're not?
Well, yes. As soon as somebody decides they want to buy my house, yes, I'm moving.
Okay, fair enough.
So we actually
Oh.
had an offer. Talk about mental health and the stress that this put on me last week. We had somebody make an offer, and then I was ready to just say yeah, okay. And then our realtor goes, "You should counter." So I was like, "She knows what she's doing." Sure. Well, they withdrew the
And
offer.
then
Yeah.
We so
I
mental health.
nothing. Just publicly, nothing bad against her. She was fantastic. She
Yeah.
puts a lot of work into this stuff, and she helped us find the house we're in right now.
Yeah.
Yes, Braden, come by my house, please.
There you go. You got an offer. Look, the job is done here. Do I get a 10% realtor cut or whatever? Agent's cut?
That'd be nice.
That would be nice.
That was
I'm sorry.
yeah. So the mental health stuff, the worst period of my life ever was last year, when we had ridiculous trouble selling our house, and we had done this thing where we did. I don't even remember what it's called now, but we made an offer on the house that we're in now, non-contingent, which means we had to buy it even if we didn't sell our house, and we took out a loan against the equity in our house to be able to do that, which was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my entire life, and it was the most stressful thing. And I've never known that I had anxiety. There's like a couple moments that I look back to where I'm like, that's what that was, but I never knew that until going through that situation and then going to Croatia. And Croatia, it was InfoBip Shift, was an amazing conference. I had a great time, mostly just because of how amazing the conference and the people were there. But it was also 3 or 4 of the worst days of my entire life from anxiety. And I couldn't sleep. I was scared I was having a heart attack. I thought I was going to have to go to the ER in the middle of the night. I was calling Jess at like 3 a.m. when I had to keynote the next day, and ended up coming home early. But that was one of the worst things I've ever gone through, was the stress of like really not knowing how that was going to end.
I mean, I ended up in the ER almost a year ago.
Yep.
Totally freaking understand.
Somewhat back to the question. I know, Brian, you didn't really touch on it yet, but about like dealing with mental health and kids and stuff. One of the things for me is I've gone through like a whole learning about myself. That someone mentioned earlier, it's cool to see that like you're not all superheroes and you can't do everything, that like we're acknowledging that. To be honest, I'm not used to that. Like I've never not been the person who could do everything and do it pretty well. I'm not used to having to not be able to do stuff, or having to cut back or make decisions to like protect my mental space. This is a whole new thing for me, to be quite honest. And a lot of that started last year with what I just talked about. So I think one is like being more in tune with how my body reacts to stuff and how I react to stuff, and stuff I've talked about in keynotes, of paying attention to like every day, do you enjoy your job? And if not, how do you find out how to do less of the stuff you don't enjoy and do more of the stuff you do enjoy? I've talked about that, and I thought about that a lot. And I think I did, but now I'm more sensitive to it and I pay more attention. So I think just having conversations about that is important. But the biggest thing for me is our daughter seeing us do things that we love and continuing to do those things. So when I was born, my dad was 42, so he was relatively old to have a newborn. My mom was 32, 10 years younger, but had chronic conditions all of her life, lupus being the big thing. And so I never basically ever saw my parents have fun. They almost never really traveled together. They almost never really hung out with friends. They almost never really did anything, especially as I got older, other than just kind of being around the house and watching TV. And that's the thing that I think is really important for Jamie to see as she grows up, is parents who are still active, who still enjoy doing stuff, who still have friends, who still go out of their way to spend time with friends. And a big thing for me that's really important is for her to see me on stage at some point. Like, I think that's a superpower, to be honest. I think that's a huge amount of confidence that my parents never had. Like, I never saw them in a leadership position. I never saw them like greet a bunch of people over at dinner, like whatever. I never saw them with that level of confidence in themselves. And so that's something that I just want her to grow up seeing, something that I just never really saw growing up.
Brian?
Oh boy. I don't know about mental health practices for the kids. I'm going to be straight up. I have not considered my role in that. I typically encourage my kids to make sure that they get outside and are not tied behind screens all the time. And we try to balance activities that they're involved with and things we're doing with our church and people we're going to see and whatnot, to make sure that we don't overload them with too much to do. We want to give them their own space and time to be able to kind of express themselves and however they want. And then just, I guess we talk to them like very candidly about life and things that's going on, and try and give them advice on how to help, and just let them whatever. But Ross, I gotta say, thanks for asking that comment, because now this is definitely going to be in the front of my mind, so I can like be a little more conscious about the way that I'm approaching it. But I guess for myself, like you, James, when I was younger, I came to this realization at some point that if I apply enough effort into something, I could accomplish it. Right? Like I don't know that I was ever truly like shown that growing up, but it's just something that I can attribute it at least to one of my jobs that I had in high school. But it wasn't until I had kids that I started having that mental health stress, like you were experiencing last year. It was like, and it wasn't necessarily the kids' fault, but it was like that extra responsibility that was tacked on that I wasn't used to. And over the years, I've always struggled to like get back to the level of productivity I had when I was in my younger 20s, where I can, take care of myself physically, take care of myself mentally, do my work, do all the things. And it wasn't probably until I think at least the last 2 or 3 years that I recognized, like, hey, sometimes I gotta get let off the gas a little bit. Like recognize when I'm starting to get that burnout sensation. What I've recognized that in myself is I lose interest in almost everything that I'm doing. Like it all goes down the drain. I want to sit down and code, but then I sit down to code and just nothing happens.
Nothing.
Because I don't want to do it once I sit down to do it. So then I get up and walk away, and then I get this like nagging sense that I should be doing something productive, And it's at that time, like my solution, oddly enough, is video games. I was a gamer growing up, so playing video games is like my way of like bracketing away the world, getting away from work, getting away from, even getting away from family life for just a little bit. And it doesn't have to be forever. I mean, a lot of times I always make sure that everything that I do outside of my family is after the kids go to sleep. So I'm not taken away from that. But even a couple of hours a night, once in a while, will do enough for me where it kind of like helps me get back to normal. But it took me a long time to kind of like realize that was a strategy that I could use to get myself back into a better mental state. And then, yeah, I hope that answers the question. I have my little tricks that I've learned about myself that I can apply, but yeah.
Probably the biggest thing is just understanding yourself more.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things we've done in our house is try to have a pretty open line of communication. And that's been something that we've stressed since the early days, and it's not always easy. Try to never go to bed mad at one another. And it's, I think puberty was probably the hardest time, to have those conversations where they're trying to figure out who they are and what they are and what they want to be and what it even means. And you gotta make time for it. I mean, and you need to know when to back off. I applaud you, Brian. I did a lot of like all of you first, me second. And the reality is there needs to be a better balance. Your kids have to also know that they are allowed to do things without your presence. And I think I've failed there. Which is, we're always here. I think that's the kind of the artifact of when you work out at a house, like literally, I'm always here. And that sucks. I know everybody thinks it's really cool to work at home. Like I am ready to rent my own office and get the fuck out.
Yep. I do miss working in an office. I love the opportunity that working from home has given me to see my kids more often. So like instead of coming home at 6 o'clock and seeing the kids for a little bit, it's like as soon as they come home, they get super excited. They like show me, tell me what they did at school and tell me about their day and ask me how I'm doing, all that stuff. Like that's fantastic. But the downside of it is that interrupts the flow and, and not to mention, I'm pretty isolated, if I'm being honest. Like I work, I'm sure both of you probably feel the same way, but I work out of the corner of my bedroom. So I wake up, I take the kids to school, I go work out, come home, and I basically spend almost the rest of the day at this corner of my bedroom.
Right.
So,
right. I hate it. Like I'm in that boat, and we're in this weird place now where, or at least the high school years have been. I don't know where in like school life. I don't remember this as a kid, at least for me. But it seems like they're just like, oh, we're gonna go do this thing, and it'll be at 3, and you're like 3. Who could get to the school at 3? Like
Yeah.
people have jobs. Well, you know, school's over at 3:30, so you got to be there at 3. You're like, like we have a game tonight that's at 4:30, an hour and 15 minutes away. Like, oh, okay, all right, okay, so we're doing that. All right, and it's
Like how Ross says bedroom corners unite. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I've never
Um,
understood how two working parents without ultimate flexibility of work could do any of the things that you're supposed to do as a parent with school and activities.
Carrie and I
Mhm.
say it weekly, and that's why we end up working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Because the time has to get made up somewhere.
Yeah.
Like my weekends are like the game tonight and the game Saturday morning and the game that was on Monday.
Yeah.
And that's 12 hours. Like where do you make up that
Yeah.
12 hours?
Yeah. 100%.
It's
There's
hard. And it changes all the time because, you know, you're going to have, I know, I always think about this thing that somebody says there's things you can do one time, anytime, things you can do one time, things you can do one time and one time only, things you do one time, anytime.
Yeah.
And I constantly think about like,
which one is this?
is this a moment that's one of these things that I can go to? And then I, you know, inevitably if I pick, there'll be another soccer game. That'll be the game where like, you know, I don't know, my kid scored 5 goals and you're like, son of a bitch. How did I miss this one? But
can't do it all.
No, you can't. Emmett asked the question, how do you fit getting exercise into your day with kids, work, partner?
I've got a pretty solid answer
question.
for that.
Next question. Go,
I can tackle this one. It's all, in my mind, it's all scheduling and make sure you stick to it. So I get up with the kids in the morning, I get them ready and off to school. As soon as I'm done getting them to school, I go to the gym right away. Because if I don't, then it gets lost in the day or I'll find excuses not to go. And then I work after that until the kids come home. And then I try and if I can work until 5, then I get the extra work done then. If not, I'll work after hours. My wife and I used to have more family around that would be willing to take the kids and hang out with them during the middle of the week. So we'd be able to go out once a week to have a date, which 100% recommend. If you could somehow figure out a way to swing that with your significant other, that makes a world of difference. But since we moved to Kentucky, we don't necessarily have that. We have some family, but they're farther away, and they both work full-time jobs. So like during the middle of the week, it just hasn't quite worked out with the same schedule. But my wife and I these days will once the kids are in bed, there are times that we'll cook an interesting meal and just kind of like hang out and just eat, like date from the table or date from the bedroom kind of a thing. Just sit and eat some food and watch something or talk to each other. And we squeeze dates, and they're not like go out and get food kind of dates, but it's like the best we can do. So, and I think that's done a ton for us as well. I also try, like, especially when it comes to the kids, I try and schedule at least an hour of solo time with each of them once a week, especially the older ones. My youngest one is a little more needy and demanding with time. So he kind of it just kind of naturally gets it throughout the week. But my older ones will again, they go in their rooms and they just want to sit there and hang out or go outside or whatever. So I make sure to like ask them, hey, I'm going to spend a half hour with you today. We'll do whatever you want to do. What would you want to do? Sometimes it's play games. Sometimes it's go outside and play soccer. Sometimes it'll be go to the store and just walk around, look around kind of a thing. And I think that's also made a big difference with making sure that I continue to maintain that relationship with each individual person in my family. Because it's so easy, like, especially I'm a very hands-on, like, not just dad, but a hands-on, like, house person too. Like, I'll pick things up and do the dishes and do the laundry and stuff. And it's so easy to just see all the stuff that needs to get done and lose sight of the important stuff, like spending time with the people you love. So I know as businessy as it sounds, I will literally block out time on my calendar to hang out with people in my house to make sure that I don't lose that.
Oh, we live by the calendar. Like we have a shared calendar and everything's on there. If it's not on there, it's a mess. And as the kids get older, like the things get more complicated. They're in more places. You're like, who's over here? Who's over there? James, you work out a bunch. How do you find the time?
interesting that you say that. We actually just started doing a slightly modified version of 75 hard. So 75 hard is 75 days of having some sort of diet and a certain amount of time. I think they say like 2 45-minute workouts, which is a lot. So we're doing 60 minutes of workout instead of 90 total. And walking is one of those workouts. So that's what I do a lot. That I can do with Jamie. I can also run with Jamie. So almost all of my running these days is like pushing a stroller. I think
could show off.
I didn't mean it's good. That just was what I have to do.
He's like, I can run pushing a car. Oh, okay, that's cool.
That is hard. I did that a couple of times back when my kids were little. We had the double stroller, and I'd run around a little track that was in our neighborhood, and I was like, "There's no way I could do that now."
Yeah, and things like a couple of days recently, I've done yoga with like Jamie, just walking around. She'll crawl on my back or like whatever. We got her like pretty confined in the living room where I can just let her be free and do whatever. But it's all about priorities. I think I would love to be a better like handy person. I would love to get better at woodworking. I'd love to like actually practice soccer like skill wise instead of just show up and play all the time. And then Jess and I always, Jess more than me, like talks, oh, I'd love to do this workout or this training program or whatever. And the reality is like you can do any individual thing that you want to commit to. You can't do all of those things, going back to prioritization. Yeah. And anyway, I'm by myself now. Jess is in Mexico this week. She gets home Friday for like her family gets here Thursday night. She gets home Friday. Then we have birthday party Saturday. And that's kind of a lot, but it's really easy to make that an excuse, but it doesn't need to be. So like typically before dropping off for daycare and Nanny gets here, I'll go for a 25-30 minute walk. I'll either go for a walk or go hit golf balls. I've got a net and a little tracker sensor thing in the garage now. So I can do that for 20-30 minutes over lunch. I'm going to go like today. I want to do something. My sister and her family are going to watch a baseball game. My middle nephew's gotten really into baseball. I played baseball all my life through high school. So they're going to watch a game. I want to go with them. That's at 4:30. Which to all the points. So my thing is like, I'm going to have to run at 3 or so. And this time I'll get to run without Jamie because our nanny is here. So that's nice. I also still have like yesterday I was working on putting up new towel holders and stuff in the upstairs bathroom, getting ready for company. I need to do a little bit of painting tonight before we have cabinets installed tomorrow. There's always things, but right now I've made 60 minutes of working out a priority. And I think an additional thing that helps, which is completely contradictory to my mindset growing up as an athlete, it was always like, do things as hard as you could. And if you're not like hurting, you're kind of not doing it right type thing. I'm totally against that now. Like when I go runs, when I go do runs, I want to feel good. When I do a Peloton, like even 2 years ago, if I did Peloton, I was busting my ass the entire time. And I was really competitive and I paid attention to like, what is my output? What's my number? How does it compare? Did I get a PR? And now I'm like half of what I was on a PR, but I know I did the thing and I feel good about it. And I go for a run and I'm paying attention. Like, am I getting better with as much as I'm running? And I am, but I'm not trying to be dead by the end of it. So just accepting that, I think mentally is helpful. Doing yoga, like a more peaceful yoga than I would have, is helpful. And it also helps mentally, but it also is working out. And walking has been huge. Like at the baseball game tonight, I might go walk while I'm there. I can still watch, but I might double dip and kind of walk while I'm doing it too. So for me, it's just been a priority. It's been a mental shift of like, just make it easy for you to make sure that you're doing the thing instead of forcing yourself to do something you dread, which you're never going to be able to do.
The reality is, as somebody who's further down this trek and let it go, man, you got to make the time for it. Because if you don't, you're going to have other problems.
Yeah.
That's just a harsh reality. So
I would also argue though that
making time, you're just not making it a priority. It's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I would also, as somebody who used to like be dedicated gym rat in there twice a day for 45 minutes to an hour every single day, there's also that balance, like you were saying, James. Like there are times that in my life, I just have to sometimes man up or like own the fact that I'm not going to get this workout in today, so I'll try and make it up another day. But then just also giving myself that grace to understand that, hey, I'm going to lose one session. Sometimes it just happens. Priorities come up, and then we just like get back on the bandwagon tomorrow. I'm speaking to people out there who may potentially be like me and are more like ritualistic with that stuff. And if they don't get it, they're really like, I can tend to be really hard on myself when I miss a
Like
workout.
kind of snowball mentally, if
Yeah. And then I don't want to say take it out around the people around me, but like I'm definitely not in the best of moods if I missed a workout. So it's taken me within the last couple of years, I've kind of slowly tried to unravel that ball inside my brain, I guess.
Yep.
So for those who are online, and there's a lot of you, and I'm just super, I think it's pretty awesome because we didn't even really send out any notifications about, hey, we were doing this, because it's just me kind of doing this at the last minute.
This is great interaction.
Yeah. Like, part of this is to have a conversation that we would normally have in a hallway track. Part of this is you networking with others that are on the line, and you meet those people by interacting in the comments and saying hi. We've got some giveaways that we're going to give away. Things to give away at each of these. So make sure to tell others about it. Use hashtag the hallway track, and so that you pull up in this little tool, because there's not a lot of entries at the moment. So I'm not quite sure about that. Ask us questions. We're going to wrap up here in the next 10 minutes. So Ellie, we love you.
By the way, shout out to Ellie, who is going to be in Wisconsin this summer. And I think there was someone else.
I'll be there.
Well, yeah, people know that. Who? I feel like someone else in the chat. Maybe not.
Ellie,
yeah, I know I will be too. I don't know who else. I don't see anybody else in there. I think Braden's speaking. Is he? Is Braden? Braden, are you going to be there?
That'll be there.
Did you see Ellie is asking how do we enter? That's just is it a comment from any platform with that hashtag?
It should be any platform.
Do you see a list of all the people that have entered so far?
I just see the number of entries, and it's only 6.
Okay.
So you have a really good chance of winning some shit. And the shit that we have to give away is, if you're in the United States, I can send you a bag of coffee.
Good stuff.
If you, I have a year subscription to Front End Masters, and nice. I have a ticket to give away for that conference. And we're gonna.
Is that mine, or do you have another one?
We can use yours.
I have one I'd like to do today, because I keep trying to find opportunities to do this, and I saw this as the perfect opportunity to move this thing forward. So yeah, I have on behalf of Clerk, they have donated 2 tickets for me to give away. One will be happening right now, I guess, and then the other I'm going to be on Tech Commute with Jason Torres, who's also a friend of all of ours. I'll be on there Monday, so that's going to be the second one I'm going to give away. Those are from Clerk, so shout out to them for
this fancy tool, or you got another tool?
Yeah, let's roll with your fancy tool, because my suggestion to comment on the stream itself on Twitter got 0 entries. So let's go ahead and I'll let you use your tool.
I don't know. Let's see. If I do this?
Yeah. So for information purposes, it's ticket for all 3 days for the conference. And then, but we don't cover, it's no travel, no food. That'll kind of be on you to figure out how to get there, where to stay, how to eat. I might have a visitor. Hey, you want to come say hi, Trent?
Hi.
Come here.
I don't know how to.
Oh.
Thank you.
Here's my little 4-year-old. Say hi.
Hello.
As a fellow person with curly hair. Good luck, brother.
Yes, sir.
Very curly.
Go on, kiddo.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hit this.
Also, Braden's comment had a decline. Too much going on. Very timely conversation. I hate to
Sad
hear it.
face.
I know, but
Brady.
also glad to see the acknowledgement of being able to turn something down or having to turn something down. It sucks. This is a struggle I have every single day right now. And but it's good to have the realization that you can, and it's okay to do it.
So for whatever reason, sharing this other screen is not working. But the winner of what you just said, there, Brian, is Ross Larson.
Nice.
Ross. Cool. Congratulations, Ross.
Ross also
I think
waved into the camera, or without a camera. I think to yourself.
I think Ross is there most times, right? Hasn't he?
He has
I
been
ran
there
into
many
him.
times in the
Yeah.
past.
We'll have to do a more official meet. I'm sure we've met each other in passing, but I don't recall any conversations. Although technically, I guess
you both are in Slack, so
Yes.
he's in the Slack.
Cool. Then yeah, I'll reach out, Ross. I'll ping you in the Slack, and we'll get things moved over. Yeah, I actually just had a coffee chat with Boz Stein yesterday, who said that we met and hung out at that conference, and I'm like, I have no recollection of this. Are you sure? There's so many awesome people at that conference.
All right, the next winner of I'll let the winner choose either Front End Masters or a bag of coffee is Adam Teagan. So Adam, I know you know how to get a hold of me, or you can comment below and let me know. Whoa, look at that. Oh shit, this is getting real.
How to do it.
Is that our
I had
signal
those ready.
that we've run out of time?
No,
that's a
celebratory
Celebratory.
sound effect. Yeah, celebration sound effect.
I mean,
Teleportation.
I do have to thank both of you for just letting this this commence in the way that it did, because Brian, you were like, hey, do we have a URL? Like, is this happening?
You're like, maybe one day.
We'll get to it. We got a few minutes before this has to happen.
You know what? I believe it or not, I'm pretty damn good at thinking on my feet. I actually that's I don't know, for some reason that tends to be like where I seem to work best. If I got to sit and plan stuff, like I like the process of planning, but if I have to sit and think about something, I still a lot of times push it to the last minute, and then I can still pull something out of my ass.
I tell you, I've been I get stuck in like, it's got to have all this stuff and needs to be perfect and whatnot. And this time I'm like, fuck it. Let's just do it. Like, let's just have the conversation.
Yep. Not worked out. I'd like to end on a sad story though.
Have at it. Let's go.
It's not usually how this works.
I know, but I just thought of this and I was like, I'm here. I'm with Clark, and I wanted to share this. So this weekend for Mother's Day, my wife's uncle just got a new boat, and we took it out for the weekend, cruising on lakes and rivers and streams up and down Kentucky, right? I unfortunately lost my first that hat to Cave Run Lake in eastern Kentucky. It is floating somewhere either down below the lake or on the shore somewhere, and I am very upset about that fact.
Was this the melon hat too?
No, it was the camel one, which honestly it was. I love the way the melon one looks, but that camel one was so comfortable.
I think I
wore that one more often.
Yeah.
So
that's not near as sad as I thought you were gonna go.
No, it wasn't bad. I was sad. I was like,
I was a little worried.
I was really upset because that was one of my favorite hats.
Well, as far as sad things goes,
I
mean, rip the hat. We'll have more this summer.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, just gave myself an excuse. Gave myself an excuse to buy a new that hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kicked off the design stuff last week. So
nice.
Lots to get done in not a lot of time. So Adam has not responded. So I'll hold off and we'll give more away next week after I know how to do this better. Any final thoughts? James, you first.
I just got an email that says a great opportunity with a benefit of $3 million. So that's something I'm
Oh.
going to be looking into.
From a Nigerian princess.
Yes, and Prince, I think. I don't know. Conversations like this are good. I'm glad people are responding to it. I'm glad people have interest in this because it's different. And we talked a lot about that conference being different. I don't know if you're going to do this or not, but we talked a little bit about like almost having hallway track or the like breakout things really take out more of the time of the conference, because that's the stuff that really in some ways is the most valuable. Not to diminish formal talks, but like there's so much that you get out of just being able to have natural conversation with people. And we did some of that last year for an hour or two in the afternoon, right? Or in Austin at least.
Yep.
So I don't know what your plans are this year, but these are the kind of conversations that are fun, real world, make a difference. So
You know, we're in such a weird spot with like just trying to keep it rolling, keep doing it, keep changing it up, and then how much change can we make happen, kind of, and pull it off. And I feel like, especially this year, I feel like a bit of just I have fallen behind and am failing a bit because I've got client work, because we need money and there's bills to pay, and I'm on overload, and it's not a great feeling from a day-to-day perspective. But yeah, game on. Would love to do more of it. Bring it on.
anyway, it's fun.
Brian?
Final thoughts. One of which is after 4 hours of sleep, I'm thinking I could use a nap this afternoon.
Time.
But yeah, this was fantastic. I love that we talked more about life and family. I mean, just kind of echoing what James said, when we were at Texas, I mean, my favorite moments, as awesome as the talks were and the people giving them, you know, even especially people I'm really close friends with these, you know, now after attending that conference several times, being able to just like sit and hang out and talk over a meal, whether that's during the conference, after the conference, you know, those were some of my favorite moments, you know, of just being able to connect with people. And I don't know, I've said this countless times since you said it in your keynote, Clark, but like the fact that, you know, the people behind the code are what matters. I just love that. And I'm like really trying to keep that at the forefront of my mind, you know, going forward. So I don't know, looking forward to doing this again.
Yeah. So for those listening, when will the next one be? It'll be next week. When? I don't know, because we're not going to have a regular schedule. So you'll just have to watch the hashtag and watch the Twitter account, because the reality is the conversations we want to have can't be always at a fixed time, because people's schedules don't work at a fixed time. And so rather than having some every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, we're going to commit to doing it every week, and we'll see what it'll be next week. So thank you for joining, and I guess we'll see you next week. Is that how we end this thing? I don't have any. There it is. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
See y'all.